All right, good morning. Let's hit all the various buttons that I need to press to get this thing streaming on both Facebook and YouTube, which it appears we are on live right now. How are you doing? I'm Bill DeWeese. Hold on. Got to get the proper studio lighting going on there. I'm Bill DeWeese, professional voiceover talent and voiceover career coach. That means I cover the broad range of voiceover coaching, from performance to marketing to even some audio support. Although my son Alex, who's actually a professional audio engineer, does more of that kind of thing, but also a demo producer. But all right. Thanks for checking in as you begin to watch the stream. If you don't mind, here on YouTube, just check in on the live stream. Let me know where you're listening from. It's always fun to do that. And today is every Friday, not just today, but every Friday is our Q&A. So it's your chance to ask questions relating to voiceover. You know, what's going on with your business? What are are there challenges that you're facing? Or maybe, hey, you know what? Maybe you've got something great to report. Something fantastic happened, and you just want to tell somebody about it. I would love to hear about it. There's nothing I love to do more than to celebrate victories. Your victory would be a lot of fun to hear about this morning. So as you check in, let me know, what's the best thing that happened to you in voiceover this week? What was your biggest frustration? What was your biggest aha moment? What was the biggest scratch your head moment? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. And we've got, let's see here. All right, Jay and Bruce and Rafiq and Steve. Let's see here. Oh, okay, well, here's our first question. So let's just go ahead and we'll start here. Can you please discuss best practices for negotiating rates and the differences apply to various project types? Thank you. All right, well, the scope of that question would be like an entire webinar, so I won't be able to go into all the different, genres. But let me give you some overarching advice when it comes to negotiating. And the first thing you have to understand is that it is the Wild West out there. And as much as you would love to say that there is standard pricing for voiceover, there is not. There may be price guides posted. The union has their thing. And certainly, I mean, hey, it's a free market society. You can ask for whatever you want. But the reality is people pay what they are willing to pay. So what does that mean for you? Well, that means you can ask whatever you want. And you can decline whatever you want if it's not enough, for you. So I'm not going to give you specific prices because, again, a lot of that's also based on your experience in the marketplace. In other words, you can't, if you're new to, let's say, I'm just going to throw this out as an example. If you're a plumber, if you're an apprentice plumber, you're not going to make as much as an experienced plumber because your work is not up to that par. So there's that's factored into it. So it could seem really confusing and overwhelming. So here's the game that I like to play because I like to think of business as a game. So when it comes to voiceover, and I don't care whether we're talking e-learning, any kind of long-form narration, audiobooks, commercials, promo, whatever the case may be, when somebody approaches me for a project, my favorite question to ask is, what is your voiceover budget for this project? Because I want to know what they're willing to pay, or at least what their opening offer is. So, if you're uncomfortable with negotiating, I get it. But I think giving you this framework to work within will help you. Now, let me also say, I've done this for a long time. Voiceover full-time, 16 years. So I do have a read sheet. I do know, over that time, I've recorded thousands and thousands of paid projects. So I have a good feel for what my value is in the marketplace. I know what people are willing to pay. I know, generally speaking, what they're not willing to pay. And also, there's work I turn down because it doesn't pay enough. But I don't want to miss out. I don't want to leave dollars on the table either. So by opening the negotiation with the question, do you have a voiceover budget set for this project? That's just a good question to ask. Oftentimes they will come out and say, we've budgeted $300 for this explainer video. Well, at that point, you have a choice. You can either say, that sounds good, I can work with that, thank you. Or, let's say, for instance, let's say there's a project that I would typically charge $500 for. It doesn't matter what it is, this is just for the sake of example. Let's say my standard rate is $500. And somebody comes to me and says, my budget for this is $300. My response would be, well, my standard rate is $500. And I would either do this. I would say, is it possible to meet in the middle at $400? So basically, negotiating, trying to get the price up a little bit, which I would be glad to do. Or it's always good, if you concede something, it's good to get something. Otherwise, it seems very one-sided, and it makes everybody feel better about the negotiation. So if I just say, oh, yeah, sure, okay, my regular rate's $500, I can do it for $100. That seems kind of, okay, that was too easy. But if you give me something in return, what could the client give you in return? They could give you more time to deliver the project. Most clients want their stuff like right now. They want a discount and they want it now. But if their budget's less, but I'm willing to do it for that, I'll say, can you give me, instead of 24 hours or 48 hours, can you give me a week to do this in return for the discount price? So that's again, the framework that I operate within. And if you use that, it will serve you well, as my students in the VoiceOver Blueprint can testify. Okay, Danny in San Diego, what is up? Hey, Guy in St. Louis. Bruce says, okay, here we go, I love this. The best thing that happened to him this week was that he got a repeat client who's easy to work with. Bruce, man, that is the best. And I tell you, life in VoiceOver begins to get real good real fast when you start to get repeat clients that are easy to work with. And if you do this long enough and work at it hard enough, you will get them. And once you get a handful, you don't need 100 of them. You don't even need 25 of them. But if you get 5 to 10 of those, and it takes a while to do that, but that usually like on a really regular basis, like daily or weekly basis, all of a sudden your income just starts to become rock solid. It's a beautiful thing. Jay says, best thing, Bill, you. All Jay, thank you very much. You're very kind. Joe says, when recording multiple projects, do you edit all of your work for that day or do you sub it out? I do almost all of my own editing now. Mallory used to do a lot of my long form editing, but Mallory's career has just skyrocketed in VoiceOver. She's a busy, busy girl between her family and her work. And the reality is, I'm really fast. I'm a good editor. I am fast because I have done it for many, many years. Remember, before VoiceOver, I worked in broadcasting for 24 years. And so I'm no stranger to recording and editing. And of course, I used to do it with razor blades and grease pencils and reel-to-reel tape and splicing tape. And I was very fast at that as well. But once I transferred my skill set over into the digital realm, I became even faster. So, I can take an hour's worth of raw audio. I can have it cleaned up in less than 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. I mean, I'll record it and then I'll go back and edit it and then, I'm done. Johannesburg in the house. Hey, all right, I am doing well. Let's see. Lethukwanda, thank you for checking in this morning. I appreciate that. Rafik knocked out 2 State Farm scripts over the week. A great experience, great pay. I bet it was. Awesome, Rafik. You know what I'd like to know? I'd like to know how much Jake from State Farm makes doing TV commercials. Those like that and like Flo from Progressive, those guys got to be pulling down millions because essentially they become lead characters in an ongoing series. All right, Saskatchewan, good morning. Hey, Amanda, what's up? What's the first step after setting up your studio, Fiverr or a demo? So, Amanda, let me kind of give you an order. It's a good question. You really need your studio set up, and you need to be recording good audio before you do anything else because it all emanates from the audio, the product that you create. So that is the first thing. Secondly, is you need to have your marketing piece in place. By marketing piece, I mean your If you are in sales, it'd be your sales collateral. For voiceover, we use a demo or demos. So you need your demo, at least a commercial demo, if not multiple demos, but you need your demo. And then after that, then my recommendation is you begin by setting up on the free platforms like Upwork and Fiverr and ACX and VoiceBunny, and then take it from there. Joe says, I'm not fast, but I'm good. That is most important. And Joe, over time, it's just like with anything. You do anything long enough, and I'm sure you're a lot faster now than you were, and I'm sure you'll continue to become faster over time. Can I please give tips on editing? It's kind of hard to explain editing. It almost needs to be demonstrated, and I'm not really set up to do that right now. But I will say this. There's a lot of discussion between punch and roll editing and a more, I'll just call it traditional editing, which is what I do. I'm not a big punch and roll fan. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying it's good. Plenty of people love it and do it very well and it's very efficient for them. The reason I like to do what I do, and what I do is when I make a mistake, I pause for a moment and then I click like this. You can use a dog clicker. You can snap your finger. You can clap your hand. It makes an audio spike in the audio so you can visually see where your mistake. That's your marker, essentially. But I'll click, and then I'll continue on. But the reason I like to do that is because oftentimes I don't like the way I pick it up, and it doesn't sound right to me. So I'll stop again. I'll click. I'll start the line again, and I'll do that until I feel like I found my groove, until it matches up with everything. I'm not saying I start 4 or 5 times every time I make a mistake, but if it's punch and roll, then I got to go back, and it's just, and I've done it for so long, it's muscle memory for me as well. That's how, essentially, that's my style of editing. Hey, Chandler from London. Awesome. Do you recommend using Wet Effects Chain for auditions on pay-to-play sites or raw audio? And when you talk about wet, just for those of you who don't know, that means if you're using anything, compression, EQ, reverb, which I don't use in voiceover. Wet would be when they're applied. Raw is when they're not. I do everything with processing applied. As a matter of fact, I use Universal Audio Gear, which allows me to record my plugins on the fly in real time. So when I'm recording, I'm using compression and equalization, and there's a de-esser, and there's even noise reduction involved in real time. So, excuse me, when I'm done recording an audition, it's already processed. All I have to do is edit it. Because your auditions should sound like what the final work will sound like. So that's my recommendation there. Hey, Dory, good morning. Aside from the work your assistant does, how do you organize direct marketing and monthly follow-up? Dory from Maryland. So here's the deal. When it comes to my assistant, who's Mallory, what she does mostly a lot of invoicing, billing, collections, and she organizes my day. So she keeps tabs on my inbox and projects that are incoming. She organizes priority, lets me know what needs to be done when, asks me if I've done something, because she knows me well enough. She's the organizational mind. I'm a little more scattered. I'm a little more of a global thinker, and that's my excuse, which means sometimes I overlook things. So she makes sure that I don't do that. When it comes to direct marketing, I now use, just because of how busy I am, I utilize a service called VoiceOver Marketing Pro, vomarketingpro.com. Check it out. It's owned by Todd Barsness and his sons. He has a bunch of sons. They're all in the voiceover business, and they've created this marketing firm and Todd, he was one of the very first people to buy my voiceover playbook, which was like one of the first training programs I created, and stayed in touch with me over years, telling me of his progress. And he now makes a lot of money in voiceover. He does very, very well. And he built it primarily on direct marketing. And so what they do now is they hire out you can hire it out to them, which is what I do. So I pay them to do my direct marketing for me so I can focus more on auditions and recording and, of course, my voiceover coaching responsibilities. Excuse me. there's that. And so, excuse me, they do that for me. So they reach out, they track that, they do the follow-ups. They're great. I mean, those guys are fantastic. And I wouldn't recommend, if you're just getting started, don't hire a direct marketing firm. You want to make sure, this is after you've done this for a little while, you're competitive, you've developed some skills, you have professionally produced demos, and you're so busy recording that you don't have time to market like you would like to. That's when you hire somebody like VO Marketing Pro. And Dory, I think you'd certainly qualify and fall into that camp. So those guys are great. So vomarketingpro.com. Tell them Bill Deweese sent you. Good people, good people to work with. Hey, Mark, in Wilmington, North Carolina. All right, headed that way. No, not Wilmington, but to the Outer Banks not long from now. Looking forward to that. Hey, Cara, good morning. Considering setting up a starting studio in my closet when recording a demo or other work, is video typically included or just straight audio? Thanks. By the way, closets can be great. I worked out of a closet for like 4 years, and it was, I built a very sizable business out of my bedroom closet. In regard to audio and video, no, audio is critical, obviously. I mean, people are listening to our voices, so you've got to have audio. That's mission critical. Video's nice, and I would say it shouldn't be your first, but it's not a first priority. I have video demos. I think they're good and they're helpful, but they're not mission critical, especially when you're first getting started. So, once you're rolling and you've got great demos, and yeah, sure, you should certainly look at getting those turned into video. Absolutely. But that shouldn't be on your priority list when you're first getting started. So I wouldn't worry about it at this point. Hey, Jerry, Palm Springs, California. Good morning. Yeah. And Jerry, by the way, in my, my voiceover blueprint program. Yeah, we had and we talked for a while yesterday on a GoToWebinar coaching session. So what I do is every week, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I have between like 25 and 28 in addition to the on-demand training, in addition to our private Facebook group and my live streaming, we do between 25 and 28 live coaching sessions every month. And one of those is a weekly session with new members who are in their first 6 months in the program, so we can specifically tackle issues that they're facing. So yeah, Jerry, it was great meeting you. It was a great session yesterday. Thanks for being there. Good morning from Missouri. All right, Kay just started on her first audiobook. Congrats, that's very exciting. Your advice on this channel has been amazing. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Kay. I appreciate that. And good luck on your book. I'm sure you will knock it out of the ballpark, and I'm sure it will be the first of many to come. Mark asks, always wondered, do you edit out breaths or leave them in? My answer to that is yes. Let me explain. The longer the format, like for instance, with audiobooks, I don't edit out breaths unless they're just like obnoxiously loud. Because, when somebody's reading you a story, you don't expect to not hear breaths. But the shorter the form, the more attention I pay to that and detail and breath removal. Like, so for instance, if I'm doing a 15 or 30 second commercial, you won't hear any breaths in it when I'm done with it. But for something that's 3 to 5 minutes, I don't mind leaving subtle breaths in. But for audiobooks, again, I think usually, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, like for ACX standards, they don't want to hear breaths between when you say the chapter and you start reading the chapter. There's a few things like that, but generally speaking, subtle breaths are not a big deal for long form. What is the rate that I charge for a professional demo? I've locked at this point. Okay, here's the deal. $27.50 is what I charge for a demo. And then if you have like your second demo, like if you're doing a commercial demo and you want a narration demo, and we work on those at the same time, I charge half price for the second one. Um, if you reach out to me at voiceoverexpert@gmail.com and say you listen to my live stream, I will give you my pre-COVID rate, which is $2,500. And I know, doing a professional demo, it's a financial commitment. But what you're creating is a marketing piece. If you're selling a house, you have to stage it properly, and to get top dollar. And if you want to get top dollar in voiceover, you've got to be staged properly. And so that's where a good professionally produced demo comes in. So just reach out to me at VoiceOver Expert, and I can send you examples of where you always, shop around. You want to shop around. There's a handful. I would say like a handful. There's not a ton of great producers that I'm aware of. There's a few out there that are good, and I certainly would include myself among them. And you should listen to their work. Listen to the work. Always, just like when somebody hires you, they listen to your demo. Listen to the work they've done. Let's see here. Lake of the Ozarks. Awesome. Edward, thank you for being here. Let's take one more. Kate, are there brokers within the industry to help with benefits, or are you on your own? Assuming you're non-union. Yeah, I'm non-union. If you're union, there are benefits. Of course, you have to qualify for those benefits. Most of the people that I know in the union, some qualify for some. Most people never get all that much work. Again, I'm not saying that's true for everybody. I'm just saying generally speaking. But no, I don't qualify for benefits, so I'm responsible for all of that myself. So I've been very conscientious and diligent in that area. I mean, I save and invest a lot. And when it comes to healthcare, by the way, healthcare is expensive, in case you didn't know that, if you pay for it yourself especially. My wife and I use a health share. So if you get a chance, we've been talking about this a lot because I've got a couple of things going on right now. I'm nothing serious at all. Just, medical stuff you take, you have to deal with. And so when you're with a health share, it's essentially what you do is you pay out of pocket up front and your reimbursement comes on the back end. It's a nonprofit organization. But instead of paying $30,000 to $35,000 a year in premiums, I'd pay, which is what you would pay if out of pocket, being self-insured, I would pay around $4,000, maybe a little more a year. So but you have to be, so you become. It's funny because even doctors don't know oftentimes what their treatments cost. They don't deal with it. And it's funny sometimes when you ask because, like for instance, I need to go in for something soon, and they're doing some work ahead of time, and I ask, so I say I'll be paying out of pocket, at the time of service. What's the cost? People they don't know. Nobody knows what they pay for healthcare. They know what they pay out of pocket, but usually there's a 40% discount if you pay when you do that. So you get a 40% discount on the front end, and then again with the health share, your reimbursement comes on the back end. So anyhow, if you're doing this full time, it's worth just Googling health share. It may be right for you. It might be. So if you're not in good health, my wife and I, we're in really good health, and so for us, it's kind of a no-brainer for us. But it's something you have to think through carefully to see if it's right for you or not. Hey guys, thanks so much. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a great weekend. My granddaughter had spent the week with us here, and we had a marvelous time. I'm grateful for VoiceOver because it gives me the flexibility to spend time to go do things that I want to do with her. And now she heads back to Illinois here in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to go say goodbye to her. But you guys have a great weekend, and I'll look forward to